Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Collossus. And there are a couple of different versions of him out there. I went with the more basic comic strip version. If you prefer the one from X-Men or from Deadpool, you can always use the same kind of template and change up the colors. So if you want the X-Men guy, you can always use more gray or silver on the chest and black for the pants. And if you're going with the Deadpool one, you can incorporate some red across or even pull a ribbon over his body and wrap it on. So for, like I said, this is more of the traditional comic book version I tried for. And for this pattern, I'm going to be using a couple of beads for the eyes. I just have some little crystal ones that got a little bit of a shimmer. You can use gray bands or leave the eyes out or use other kinds of beads. It's totally up to you. We're going to need just a little bit of black for the hair, a lot of gray. You can use the thick silver if you want, but just bear in mind the silver bands tend to be thicker than the gray. So where you're using silver, you might not need as many bands for a section. I'm also going to be using the gold, Rainbow Loom gold bands. And we've got this kind of maroon purple for lots of the body. I'm going to use a couple of black and silver bands for the belt, and I'll show you how to put that on and attach it. You can use a straight matte black or gray, and I think that's most of what you need here. You will want to have on hand a couple of C-clips, a couple of hooks. Your loom is in the offset configuration. I am going to make a couple of changes here. I want to work on, improve the coloring for the chest area. So what you'll see is just a tiny bit different. We're not going to have this pink, gray, pink on the side. We're going to have a little more clear gray on the outside there. And what other notes do we have here? I will be making one arm and one leg with you, and I'm going to ask you to pause for the others. I'm sorry guys, but it's a lengthy process, so I want to walk through it with you slowly and as clearly as I can and let you go through it again at your own pace. And I can also show you at the end a couple of tricks for positioning or securing the body if you want to pose it a special way. So let's begin by making the arm. Now for some of the sets that we're putting on, you'll see that I'm placing down 3 or 4 or 5 bands. This is to give it the thick muscular look. If you find that that's not working for you, or if it's too many bands to loop, or you just want it to look a little thinner, you can always go back and just do sets of 2 bands together. This I feel gives him a little more body. So for our arm, we're going to start at the top of the loom. And you can pick a side, and you can take 2 pink bands and lay them from the top peg to the center peg. And then we're going to take 2 bands and come down once, and 2 bands and come from the second peg on that side to the third peg in the middle. Take another 2 bands, and you're going to stretch it over the third side peg and the third center peg. And then we want to bring it down onto the peg below on the side. Okay, so now we can take 4 pink bands, and they're going to sit together and go from the 4th peg on the side to the 5th peg down on the side. And we want to switch to gray now. This is going to be for the shoulder piece. So for the next part of our arm, we want 3 gray bands. We're going to come down once. We're going to take 5 gray bands and lay them onto the next peg. And then 4 and 3 and 4 3, 5, 4, 3, 4, 4 again. And 3, and 2, and you're going to take 3 bands, stretch it out a little, put it over the bottommost peg, give it a twist, put it on top, and if you want another twist, put it on top again. If you find that's too tight, then one twist is okay. I'm just going to go through this one last time, make sure we've got everything. So we have 2 pinks, 2 pinks, 2 pinks to the side, 2 pinks together, and then we've got 4 pinks, 3 gray, 5 gray, 4 gray, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, and 3 wrapped. So we are ready to loop up. What you're going to do is get your hook, go under your wrapped 3 bands, take the bottom double bands and carefully lift them over and around onto the peg above. You're going to see I'm going to loosen things a little as I go. Now we want to get the next set, grab all of them and bring them forward, and we're going to loop straight up until we get to our pink. Here I want to remove the bottom because we've got a lot of tension there. And you can see when I'm looking at this on the side, I see there's a band still sitting here, so that means we have to go in one more time and make sure we get that last one. Otherwise you're going to have bands sticking out everywhere. If you find it easier, you can grab one band and pull it over, like one at a time and pull it over, that's fine too. Okay, let's loop our first set of pink up, purpley pink. And this next one, it's going to be a little tight, but what you want to do is grab those double bands and we're going to pull them over the 3rd pegs of each of the rows that we used. So we're going to bring it up. I'm going to loosen some of this down below, so this is a bit easier to work with. This is why I like doing this on the loom. And I'm going to pull this over onto that 3rd peg, so it's going to be kind of tight. I'm going to loop up once more straight, and then I'm going to go under that 3rd peg in the center and bring the bands back over to the 2nd peg on the side. Go in one more time and loop straight up. Hold on to the bands on the top side peg and carefully remove the rest. Then you can put your hook through those top side bands and take this off. So there is, we're just going to stretch this out a little bit, our arm, our muscle. Good. And just before you go to make your other arm, I'll show you for the kind of wristlet here. You're going to take 3 pink bands, stretch them out, pop it on top of the hand, twist, pop it back on top. You can position it where you like it. So I will ask you now to pause your video, please, and make a second arm. And when you're ready, you can come back to make the leg. Okay, here we go on the legs. So we're going to take 4 pink bands and pick a side, lay them down from the top peg to the 2nd peg. We're going to do this 2 more times so that we have a total of 3 sets of 4 bands. That's 2. And this is the 3rd time that we're coming down with 4 bands together. Now we're going to lay down 3 bands from the 4th peg to the 5th peg, and 2. And we're going to take a single band, double it over. I should mention this is the bottom part of the leg we're looking at. We're going to be extending this shortly. Take a single band, twist it, double it over, and bring it onto the next peg down. And we need 3 sets of 3 bands. So take 3, place them down, and another 3, and another 3, and then we're going to take 2 pink bands and wrap them over the last peg that we used, which is the 4th up from the bottom of the loom. So put it on, twist it once, twist it twice. I'll go over those numbers one last time, and then we'll loop this up and continue the rest of the leg. So we've got 4, 4, 4, 3, 2, doubled over single, 3, 3, 3, and 2 bands wrapped over. We're going to loop this to the top and then just keep it on our hook. So go under the wrapped bands, get your bottom 2 or 3, bring them forward, and we're going to go straight up, grabbing all of the bands that are sitting on each of the pegs. Careful with the doubled over one, it's going to be a little tight. Say this once more, if you're having a hard time looping any of these, you can always, and I'm just grabbing this here, you can always loop one at a time if it's a little bit easier. So this is the bottom section of our foot, and that doubled over band gives it a nice little bend. Now we're going to do the rest of this one on the loom, because we've got a couple of 3x3 groups to create the muscles here, and it's going to be a little bit easier, I think, this way. So from what we've got in our legs, it's going to stay on the hook here, and we're going to take 4 gray bands. If at any point you want to put this, I'll show you 2 ways. So one way to attach it is to put your set of bands onto the loom on the bottom, transfer your next piece, and hook it forward. So this is the next part of the chain. It's 4 gray bands together. I'm going to show you the loom method here one more time, and then we'll do some on the hook. So our next set is 5, and you might want to put this on here just because there are so many bands. So I'm putting my 5 down, and I'm going to pull this over, grab all 5 bands, and bring them forward and off the loom. Now if you want to do this directly onto the hook, which is what we'll do with the rest, you're going to take the bands and hold them on your hand. So our next set is 5. We did 4 gray, 5 gray, and then another 5. We're going to pull them a little tight towards the end, and we slide over the bands that are on the hook. Careful to make sure that you catch them all. Now before you put the other side back, and if you want you can put this on a holding hook on one side if it's easier, but what we're going to do is take 3 gray bands, hold them on the end on the other side, and slide them through, and put the other part of those 3 on. So they've slipped under one side of those 5 bands. And as I said, if it's easier, you can always put the other side onto a holding hook, or do this on your loom if you'd like to. I'm going to take another 3 bands and pull them through on the other side. So you can see there are 2 sections here. These are the 3 that we pulled under, and this is what's left of the far side of those 5. I'm going to pull 3 bands under and put the other end back on. Now these all come together onto 3 bands. So 3 bands on the end of the hook, slide these on. If you wanted to do this part on the loom, you could put your 3 bands down, lay all the others on top and loop it forward, but as you can see here, this is a little bit faster. Now I'm actually going to pull off this side. You can use a holding hook again if you want, or just keep it on your finger. And we're going to do another 3 bands on the end, pull them underneath the bands that are on your loop here, so through, put the other end back on, and I'm going to replace the other side and slide 3 bands under the other side. I cannot believe how long it's taken to make these limbs. There we go. And we want 4 gray bands. We're almost on our leg here. Yay. 4 gray bands to go through all of the bands on your hook. Make sure you've got 4 on both sides. Put the other end on and grab 4 pink bands. Put them on the end, slide through. Whew, we did it. All right, I'll get you to pause. Oh, one last thing. Single gray band, stretch it over the leg, twist it again. You can do it twice if you want, and push it into place. So now I can ask you to do your second leg, and I'm going to put these on a holding hook, and then we can start on the body right away. I'm so excited we got through that. That was the hardest part. Okay, let's come back to our loom. We'll start on the body. And we've got a couple of gold bands, 2 golds, or again, if you want to do them all silver, all gray, whatever choice, it's up to you. For this pattern, we're starting with the gold, 2 bands, top center to the second center, 2 bands from the second center to the second right, and 2 from the second center to the second left. We're going to do 2 bands down on either side from the second pegs to the third pegs. Just want to untwist my bands a little bit here. And we're going to put down 2 gold bands underneath on either side, so a second set. And our next set is going to have gray underneath, pink underneath, 2 pinks, or purples, or maroons. This is all symmetrical. We're doing the same thing on both sides wherever we go here. And our next set is going to be gray, 2 gray bands together, and then another 2 gray bands together under that. Let's do this for the opposite side. In the middle, we're going to come down just with golds using double bands each time. So start at the second peg down, come down once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times, and 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So actually this is right where we want to stop for that. And just check our numbers again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next set on the side will be pink. On the other side we want pink again, and in the center we want pink coming down 2 times. So this center row will end just below the side rows. Alright, let's take 2 pink bands, and we're going to put them on our left hand thumbs. We're going to get a hold of the legs, so you can use the hook that they're sitting on. I'm just going to transfer it here. And we're going to take the 2, and I think I want to change the direction my legs are facing though. Okay. So I'm just going to pop this off and switch it around. And we're going to take the 2 and slide the legs on top of that and stretch it across from the 8th peg down on one side to the 8th peg down on the other side. Sort of pull it apart a little bit here. Okay, let's put on some holding bands, and then we can make our extension. We've got to put our arms on as well. We might as well do that now. Let's go on to the second pegs down, respectively, for either side. Again, you can turn them around, twist them around, put it on upside down if you want them to curve a little more in one direction. Just watch that you get all of them on. So for holding bands, we're just going to use singles. If you want, yeah, we'll just use singles. We're going to start at the 8th peg down, bring it across, bring it up over the 8th peg in the center to make a triangle. We'll use gray for the next 2. We can use a couple of pinks here. As long as your band matches one of the outside colors, you should be okay. And another pink, and we're going to do gold for the 3rd pegs across. And for our extension, which will give us a little more thickness on the side. Okay, so the top, the second peg down on either side to the third peg, you want to take 2 more golds and bring them down once. So it's sitting on top of the arm. I've just added 2 bands here. We'll do the same for the other side. Like I said, this gives them a little more thickness and bulk. For the next set, we want 3 grays. Third side peg to the fourth side peg. Repeat that on the other side. And then we want 2 grays from the fourth peg to the fifth peg down. Do that on the other side. And then we should be good. So just to secure these in, we want to take a gray and bring it across the fourth pegs down. So all of the fourth pegs down. And we want another gray or gold. I think I'll use a gray for the third pegs down. So the third center peg, the third side peg, the third side peg. And we are ready to loop up. Okay, I think we got it all. So let's go in at the side. We're gonna find the bottom 2 pink. Face the open part of the hook away from you so it's pointing upwards. Push back the holding bands, take the bottom 2, and carefully lift them up and over onto the next peg. We're going to loop up 2 more times. So once and twice, just graze. And from here, what we want to do is get a hold of the 2 grays that are on the side on the top here. So we don't have anything blocking them. We're just gonna reach in and loop forward. Now push back your holding band, your triangle band, and get the next 2 grays. Make sure that you're getting the right ones. You'll see it's gonna make a neat teardrop shape, they always call it around here. I can tell if I got the wrong one, it's gonna come out to the side. It's gonna make everything else wonky. So make sure that it's going straight up. We want 1 more gray here because we have 3. I see a third one on the side. So let's go in and get that one as well. If you need to turn your loom around or pull pieces to the side, that's always okay. Have to push this down just a little bit, hold it there. And we're gonna get the top 2 golds. This is a little trickier because we've got so many golds on that peg, but you can do it. I'm gonna do them one at a time here. I'm going to put my thumb on the second peg down to hold that in place, and I'm going to go onto the next couple of pegs here and take the bands and pull them over to the side. Pull that extension right over. And the next one, and the one before that out to the side. Now you want to go down to the fifth peg down. This is where we are, because we have everything secured up to there. We're going to push back the pink and we're going to loop up the bottom section now. So the 2 pinks here. We're going to loop up the 2 golds on the bottom, push back your holding bands. Keep that hook pointed upwards. And 1 more time. And reach through the arm, push back the pink, grab your 2 bottom gold, and bring them to the center. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll try and go a little faster now. You can always pause it, do it at your own pace, speed ahead of me if that's where you're at. When you get to that 5th peg down again, we want to bring the 2 grays forward carefully. Careful you're not popping anything else off. Get the 2 grays, 3 grays that go forward. Stay inside that holding band. So that's 1 and 2, and I want to get all 3. To dig in there for that. Push it down and get the top 2 yellows, but not the yellow holding band. Hold on the bands on the top there, and we're gonna bring the looped bands over to the side. So I'm actually just gonna reach inside, go to the outside and pull over. Where did that come from? Let's loop up the rest of the way. So 5th peg down, you're going to loop up bottom pink bands, the next bottom gold bands, and the next bottom gold ones, and then into the arm and loop to the center. Go right back to the bottom, and we've got one more section to do. So we're gonna reach between the legs here, get your bottom 2 bands. This is on your 9th peg down. Loop them right over and forward. And we're gonna loop straight up to the top from here. There shouldn't be much of anything in your way. These gold bands are so thick it makes them kind of tight to work with, but they're okay. Reach into that 2nd peg and get your bottom 2 gold. Carefully pull them over and we can start to release this from the loom. I'm so excited, we're just about done the body here. After this we've got the head and a bit of touch-up work, but a couple of additions, but this is the bulk of it we've got here. So I'm pressing my hook in, I'm trying to keep the open part pointed away from me. We're working through some tension here to release this all and keep the top bands on throughout. When we're ready, we put our hook through the bands on the top center peg and release. And there we go. So if you have one side that you like better than the other, you can turn it to that side and set it up accordingly. I kind of like this side where the gold is predominant. This is what I was aiming for. And you can see it's a little bit neater already. We're gonna make the head now. Well, I feel like I've just been holding my breath in tension here, hoping this would all come out as nicely as the first time. All right, let's switch to black for the hair. You can use standard black bands, or you can use the thick shiny kind. I'm just using regular black bands, and I'm coming down from the top center peg to the side peg with double bands. Top peg in the center to the top peg on the side. And then I'm going to double over my bands in the center, so 1 doubled over and 2 doubled over, because we want the hair section to be really short, but for it to still kind of show up. On either side, we're going to take a single band and double it over. Come down once. If you're finding there's too much tension here, you don't have to have as many bands, or you can leave them as doubled bands. It's just going to be a little bit looser. We switch to gray now, and we'll come down 3 times on either side with double gray bands, starting at the 2nd peg down. And in the center we come down 3 times, same thing. And from either side, from the 5th peg in the side to the 6th peg in the center, we're placing 2 gray bands to close off the face here. Just before we put on the holding bands, I'm going to mention to you that I am using single undoubled bands. If you want your face to be really tight and narrow, you can double your bands over, but I'm just going to keep them straight. So we'll start at the 2nd peg down, take a gray band across, and bring it up over the 2nd peg in the center. Do this for your 3rd pegs, another triangle, and your 4th pegs, and your 5th pegs. And we're going to take off the peg that's on the band that's on the 3rd pegs, because we need to put our eyes on. I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing that. If you are using bands, let's say you wanted to use the shiny silver, you wrap it on your hook 1, 2, 3 times. You would take a 2nd one, wrap it on your hook 1, 2, 3 times, and then you would slide both of your eyes onto a single silver band, which is always hard to do from this hook, but I've got my body sitting on my 2 point. and this would go back to those third pegs, and we separate them. So this is what you do if you're using bands or beads that have a larger hole. For myself, I'm going to use my small crystal-y beads. So for that, I'm taking a piece of dental floss, or you can use a thin wire or needle and thread. I'm going to put both of my beads on top. We'll run this through a single gray band, one that's not too stretched out. Bring your floss or wire back over and bring it through the beads from the opposite direction. And credit here as I try to remember to do. This is a technique I learned from watching Delicious Designs. So you press it on, you kind of pinch it and slide your beads until they are on your band. This is going to go onto the third pegs down, just where we had it before. You want to try to get your hook in between and get the eyes a little bit apart, and we're going to take one side, one part of it. Body's in the way. And bring that over the third peg in the center. Make sure you can see where the eyes are here. Okay, let's put on our body and we'll loop up. So I'm going to transfer the bands from the neck on the body to this fifth peg down in the center. And we're going to do a standard loop here. So go through under the neck gold pieces, take your grays, loop them to the side. Those are the top two. The next two that you find under the gold will go to the left side, or the closer side here. Make sure you've got both of them. This doesn't want to go. And the last ones are going to go up. And I'm going to loop up. We'll start on the closer side so you can see this a little better. Push back everything that's got the neck on it. If you want, you can, which I'm going to have to do here. Bother. This is all so tight. Okay, I'm going to pull the body piece under a nearby peg so you can see this a little bit better. I don't want to stretch them too much, but we do need to get them out of the way for a little clarity. Okay, so we're going to take the bottom two, grab them, loop them forward. Loop straight to the top, push back your holding bands and your eye bands as you go. Make sure you're getting both bands each time, because I can see right here I missed one, so we have to go back and grab it. Your black bands will be a little tight, so watch out, and you're looping up to the center from the top side. Opposite side, loop straight up. Push back the bands with the eyes and the ones holding across. And the last doubled over black one will go up. And then you're going to loop the two blacks from the top side to the top center. And now we just need to loop up the rest of the middle. So go to that fifth peg down, grab your two grays and loop it forward, and we'll go straight to the top now. Careful with the blocks. Take a black band, two if you want it to be extra secure. Get it ready on your left hand. With your right hand, you're going to push your hook through the bands on the top center peg. Grab that black band, pull it up and through. Put the other end on and bring one side over the other to create a slip knot. You can carefully remove this from the loom. And be extra careful around those black bands. And also now this you might not know, but the bands that I find get stretched out the most are these ones right around the chin. For some reason those ones, it will really show if they're loose and lumpy. Alright, so you want to find the front, press your eyes through, turn to the back, put your hook under a nearby couple of bands, grab the black securing band on the end of your hook and slide it under the others, or slide the others over that one. When you're ready, you can put this onto a C-clip. Okay. Make any adjustments you need to make here, even things out. We'll show you how to make the belts. For this, we're going to take a thick silver band. If you're using the thinner gray, you'll want to double it over probably. And I'm just going to pull this over the legs and up to the waist. I'm going to take 3 thick black bands. Again, if you're using thinner ones, you might want to double them over or use more than the 3. I'm going to carefully pull these over and up to the waist. They're going to sit just under that gray one. This is for the belts, that's what we're making here. Just position them one on top of each other kind of. And we want, pull this up just a little more. Just takes a minute, but we'll get it to stay here right away. And one more silver to go underneath. If you have a bead or a charm or a decal you'd like to use for the X, you can always do that. Or what we can do is kind of do this sort of crossover here. I'll show you what I mean right away. So I'm going to get a silver band ready, thick silver band. I'm going to put my hook under the belt, grab the gray, or the silver, sorry, slide it carefully under. So what I'm going to do is catch it on the end of my hook, turn my hook away from me, open part away from me, slide it under, and turn the hook back towards me. Put the other end on, pull one side over the other, and now we've got kind of a knot. You can leave it at this and secure this, but I want to do 2 of these so we've got a bit more definition. So I'm going to take my hook out for the moment. I'm going to come through from the back, grab the end of that gray band and slide it backwards through. I'm going to put this onto a C-clip, and then I'm going to do the same with another gray band, and it's going to kind of cross over. So now I'm going to come through kind of from further on the side. I'm going to go under the belt, and I'm going to try to get under the gray bands that I used for my first side. I'm going to put a silver band on. Keep a little tension, turn the hook away from me so it pulls through nice and tight. This might take a couple of tries, that's okay. Turn the open part towards me and put the other side on. Pull one side through the other. And now we've got a kind of nice little X. And again, I'm going to hold this and I'm going to catch this little loop from the back side. I want to get this from closer to the opposite edge. Okay, so I'm going to pull the hook back, and when I do that, I'm going to try and grab that silver loop. And this goes onto the C-clip as well. And then we're almost done. I just want to show you really quickly if you want to position your Colossus. What you can do is figure out where you want your limbs to go. Put your hook through, let's say, a part of the arm, and then through a little piece in the back or on the leg, wherever you'd like it to sit. And you're going to slide the part that's further from the end of the hook over the part that's closer to the end of the hook. So in this case, I'm bringing the arm over, and this could go onto a C-clip, and you can see now the arm is sitting right at the waist. So let me just put it onto my belt C-clip for the moment so you can see, and I'll show you one other little trick. I'll leave that. If you have any loose bands, or if you want to get a couple of pieces to sit closer together, this is the back of the leg we're looking at. What you can do is go under, I'm going to go under the leg on one side, go through a couple of bands, line the legs up, find a loose band or just a nearby band, and pull it over. And this can go on a C-clip as well, or be kind of woven in, and that will get your legs to hang closer together. So that is Colossus. I'm sorry he's kind of overdue in getting done, but things are busy here. I'm doing my best. I've got lots of patterns I'm still working on and hoping to get to you soon. So thank you for watching. Please be sure to check out some of my other videos.